Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UBports Q&A 131. We're getting a big number, and also what's also a big number is this year. Happy New Year, everyone! We are now in 2024. Can anyone believe that?
Impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Hello everyone,
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Let's make this year a awesome year. So actually, let's start with, since we are on the topic of New Year, let's start with a little tradition that we had here on the Q&A of what our predictions are going to be for this year. And now I probably took you guys on off guard with this question because we haven't prepared this, but that's kind of the point. So let's start with Alfred. What's your prediction of Ubuntu Touchness this year?
Ubuntu Touchness, that is a good question. For this year, I see, for my own purposes, because it's going to be a long explanation. It's going to be like the 10,000th time I will probably mention. I've been mentioning it. I will mention it probably another time again, and that is my little other side projects and how to bring them to Ubuntu Touch. So I have this IDE with WebAssembly in mind written on the iPad that I wanted to show off real quick. And I want to give you a little taste of what it looks like and what it could look like on Ubuntu Touch is something to be explored by someone who is interested in snapping it up and running snapcraft commands on the latest Git repository state. So you just need to clone the thing, run the snapcraft command on the environment that you cloned, and then you just get a snap package that you can just install. But I have it here on the iPad as a little showcase, and I wanted to show you what I want to bring, what kind of quality applications I want to see on Ubuntu Touch, if that's basically a good comparison of what to expect right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, I will screen share this screen real quick. Well, let me check. There we go. This is a little like advancement in one of my other side projects, and that is Tide. It's my touch friendly and touch device capable development environment for writing WebAssembly and C++ applications and little libraries that one can very easily get through the respective distribution mechanisms. For Linux, that is going to be the Snap packaging format and the Snap store. For now, if anybody else is interested in bringing it over to, for example, like a Flatpak or other operating systems, even this is something to be explored in the future. But right now we have this, and I've also brought over one of my little libraries that are required for this itself to WebAssembly. It works pretty well now, and it is very cool to see being just able to command B your way through library development and application development and doing it flawlessly on a tablet device. It looks pretty good. It feels nice. And you can debug the things that you develop on it pretty easily. For example, I have this little example project here that you can just step through with a debugger and go through. And this is the type of thing that I want to bring out, of course, as free and open source software, because it is MIT licensed. So anybody can get it to work on their platforms and whatever they wish it to work with. It works pretty well, and it does what it's supposed to do, and it has even Python integration right now. So you can just do the regular REPL things You can just print out what each value represents, and then do things like this. You can filter out the maybe in more less interesting parts from the output, having it work pretty well. Those are the types of applications that I want to see on UT as well, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to stop this right now. Oh, maybe not, because I wanted to show you something else really quick before I stop here. Excuse me if I'm pretty, just maybe a little too excited about it, but this is something that I really wanted to showcase here. And this is plugin integration into Tide itself, where there is a little interface that developers can plug it into and make it work with, and add their own little plugins for the IDE itself. So this is something that you can use with WebAssembly. This is what the IDE looks like, and doing it pretty easily on the tablet itself, which means it's self-hosted. I can build it. I can even release the thing. I can put it somewhere on somewhere through AirDrop or whatever, release the things that I develop with it, and I hope to the others develop other things with it as well. And thanks
Yeah,
for this is something that again something that I want to bring to Linux and want to see on Linux, this type of quality applications, and yeah, this is pretty much my prediction for what's going to happen with a few of the technologies that I mentioned throughout my talk right now.
yeah, that it's gonna be amazing to see. I'm really excited to see this on Linux and Ubuntu Touch. That's
It works on
that's
Mac OS, it works on Linux, it works on so many different platforms right now. It's pretty cool what to do with this type of technology now, with
yeah,
WebAssembly and whatnot. And
unique.
Siglang, also Siglang, because you have Siglang below your little
Oh yeah,
cute name. This is also something that works with WebAssembly, I've been told. So look at
ooh,
that.
yeah. I've been experimenting a lot with Siglang, and I quite enjoy it. Uh,
Yeah.
but also, that's one prediction. Do you have another prediction, more ambitious, a big one?
I don't think
Alfred?
I got the question. I don't think I got the question. Or couldn't you hear me?
Uh, no, I was asking, do you have a second uh, prediction?
Well, again, we see a little bit. We see a little bit of thriving developments with regards to increasing our support for example, zip calling and stuff like that. That makes Ubuntu Touch look pretty good in my book, because it is something that will allow a free and open source software stack to provide some telephony functionality on the go for people who can't use voice over LTE at the moment, and want to maybe even want to keep it that way. I don't know, but it is something that might work as a very interesting way to increase the feature set. I've also seen a lot of work going on with on GitLab news, or GitLab rather, the latest developments, issues and whatnot.
Yeah,
There are a few things that are also very interesting, and that makes me very happy that this can look very good in the future.
yeah. Aptly, do you have any prediction for this year?
The first prediction is from Equario in the chat, who says world peace. I doubt it's true, but I hope so.
Oh, okay.
And as for my prediction, I would say that I hope, and I think we can. I think 2024 will be the version 3 of Android. the ones that put Android into a major OS and distribution, and made it something more substantial. And I think we can achieve that with the move to 2404 and being able to just streamline most of the work, and with more convergence, and being more open to convergence and other developers with Snaps. I think Snaps is a huge thing for Ubuntu Touch. I think it can bring many apps. Many people, when they heard of convergence and Ubuntu Touch on the first time, it was the promise to run, let's say, LibreOffice or GIMP on your mobile phone. And I think with Snaps we can achieve that.
Yeah, totally. Actually,
So
that
yeah,
reminds me of some Xwayland development that will also benefit here, because I've noticed that with a bit of tweaking, the Xwayland support can actually allow those legacy applications to work pretty well, no matter how they're packaged. So getting those Libertine containers running with proper application support. For example, Qt Creator in a Libertine container works pretty well nowadays, and Qt Creator from the Snap Store, this little ROS specific flavor of Qt Creator that I found, also works pretty well. So I can't see much of an issue here with applications working pretty bad with Xwayland support. And with a few improvements, it will also fix a few Lumiri issues in the long run, which I also see very clearly now that this is something to look forward to.
yeah. So basically, yeah, I think it will be a huge year for Ubuntu Touch. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm off by 1 year, but I think it's 2024.
It's a good one. It's a good
It's
year.
true.
Yeah.
I also think this is going to be a good year. I see that we are on really good paths. I see a lot of changes coming in, really good changes coming in. This was last year, but this year has only been 5 days, 6 days. So, but I really think this year is going to be something big. We are, as you said, moving to 2404, staying on top of Ubuntu all the time, not lagging behind anymore, being on par with all the releases. Well, all LTS releases of Ubuntu is going to be huge.
Yeah.
But I also think this year is going to be the year of VLTE and VLTE movement. As you said, also zip. Zip also plays a little bit role with VLT, since VLT is based on zip, and maybe there can be some common work done there, and maybe you can get a completely free and open source stack of VLT at some point. Maybe not this year, but that the goal is to have that at some point. And also one prediction, which also is going to be a little bit going to be very ambitious, is to get Lumiri fully working on desktop with no issues whatsoever. This is of course it already works and you can run it on desktop, but I want it to be fully smooth.
Oh yeah.
I think we can do it. It's not overly ambitious, but it is something that required a lot of work. So that one, and also I have the last one, which is ultra ambitious, which is impossible. That is Ubuntu Touch being number one in the world,
Of course.
beating Apple and Android. That's the super goal, the ultimate stretch goal.
Exactly.
That's the dream.
Yeah. And
I think
also,
it's for some people who have been using it for as their daily drivers for a long time, we have beaten it or them to the punch. So there we go.
Yeah. It's also how do you define being number one, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's how many people enjoying it, jumping in here, or having some like valuable remarks here in the live chat. This is also very heartwarming. So I do think we're on a great track right now.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And also a question to all the viewers: what are your predictions for Ubuntu Touch this year? We want to hear everything. And I also want to do a little bit of twist. What do you think not going to happen this year, Alfred?
Snaps are replacing clicks. That's not going to happen this year.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. You have one, Apply.
Yeah, the root file system being read and write. This will
Oh,
not happen this year.
oh, that one is good. And I think that we are not going to change the packaging format this year. So it's a kind of the same as Alfred, but I
Yeah.
also include apt and all that. So we are not going to switch to using apt or anything like that. Oh, we have some with some in the live chat.
Yeah.
My name says mine is Ubuntu Touch be able to buy in local Tesco. Yeah, this one is good. This one is that one I like to be
That
have
would be cool. Yeah.
to be able to go and buy an Ubuntu Touch phone would open up the market for so many people, because the even though we make it simple to install it with the installer, it's still cumbersome. It's still not the
Right.
greatest experience, and it's also a little bit nerve wracking at first. I remember when I did my flashing back in the day, I was always so nervous to brick the phone and break it.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, those times are not over, but I think with all the options that we have right now, whether it being like being able to buy one of our sponsors like devices like Volla phones, for example, and making sure that those provide a seamless experience. I mean, those things are pretty cool, right? Don't you think?
yeah, yeah, it yeah. Okay,
I think that's maybe a good transition to our sponsors.
to our sponsors, yes.
There we
Let's
go.
let's move over to our sponsors, and some of them you can actually buy phones from.
Yeah.
So we have sponsors. We have Smooth, Volla, and Pine64. Volla and Pine64 both make devices that you can buy. At least Volla you can buy with Ubuntu Touch now. Pine64 you can't buy it with Ubuntu Touch anymore. That was only a limited time. But it's simpler to flash.
Oh yeah, the Pine Tab too, for example, that I got for myself to play around with. This thing works pretty well. Gotta admit. Gotta admit.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, huh?
It is.
And then we also have some infrastructure sponsors. These sponsors fuel our servers and make them run. So these are Cloud Run, DigitalOcean, Netlify, and Gandhi.net. And we also have some wonderful Patreons. All these Patreons make Ubuntu Touch happens. And I will try to pronounce these names with my best effort. So it's Luigi311, Heather Ellsworth, Marty McFly Jr., Ronderos, Splendor House, PK, Kenneth Drew, Daniel Frenchuk, Robin Hood, A.Teal, Taffyson, JT, Will Atwood, Gardner and Associates Consultant Inc., and Tiska. Tiska. If you want me to completely say your name wrong, please consider heading off to ubports.com/donate. Neither donate with if you want to get listed here, you need to use Patreon at the moment. But you can also donate to us with a lot of things. And if you donate to us, you also get, since we are a registered foundation, you also get a tax return. It will now be next year, but you get a tax return. Everyone, thank you for your support, and we love you all. Should I head over to some news? The thing is that there isn't a lot of news because it has been Christmas and New Year, and there has been a lot of time with families and offline time. But I will try to list what we have gotten contributions from, and some of the really interesting ones are actually coming from someone trying to port Lumiri to NixOS. So Cosmia is trying to port Lumiri, the full Lumiri stack, to work on NixOS, which NixOS quite changes the folder structure and how things is placed. So that's why there has been quite a lot of changes around that. I see there also been a lot of changes to teleports. Some from Florian, some from Dalian Frost. Like, for example, finalize polls and implement message link functionalities. And I also saw there was an open pull request for actual, like, reading in messages. Speaking about open pull requests, we have one from Lionel, which currently is a draft, but is to support iCal file import and export. This one is really cool. There's also a lot of open issues to both update and rename a lot of components from Gudio. Let's see if I can find more that are open. There's also one from Rachanan to upgrade Qt Web Engine to 5.15.16. There has been some CVC, some security updates that has been pushed by what Rachanan and German. There has been actually an introduction to a dark mode switch in the system image. So this one is from Mohammed, and you can now switch to dark mode from the system settings. That is really cool. That one is really nice. There's multiple changes here, even more from Mohammed. It's also a configurable charging information you can have in the lock screen. So you can now have where it says on the bottom how long until the device has charged. That one is really cool. Lionel has added option to have silent, or not silent, but hidden notifications or private notifications where they are blurred, and you can't, when the device is locked, the notification is actually blurred and you can't see it. So that one is really cool. And actually there was a lot more changes than I expected. So yeah, there's a lot of things coming up here. So I actually don't have time to list all of them. So that's really cool. Okay. So one thing, while we are talking about the future, I think we also should talk about what we loved from 2023. What changes you really liked, what you really liked about 2023, what really happened. Going over like a year review, what we did, like quickly. Want to go first, Alfred?
Yeah, maybe the release of focal-based Ubuntu Touch up to 3 OTAs now. This makes me very happy and very proud of what we've achieved as a team, pretty much. So I can see a lot of things going on and improving overall for sure. But overall, we've achieved a lot over the last 12 months, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the things happening. I see the cat is very eager to join here as well.
Yeah, he has joined us.
There you go.
want to listen to this year review.
Exactly. Great year, and I can only hope that 2024 will be just as awesome as the last one in terms of progress.
Yeah, you wanna take what you loved most, happily?
Yeah, I also really loved that all the effort put into the release of Focal. Uh, Big shout out to all the members involved because it's a huge accomplishment. And as I said previously, for me, it paves the way towards uh, keeping up with the major release of LTS and being able to uh, push the operating system on another level. For me, that's a key step. And I think also Snap, and thank you, Alfred, for the job. Um, that's also very encouraging for the future. So that's two of the main things of 2023. And on a personal note, I also loved being there at FOSDEM to join everyone and help spread the word. And what astonished me is that even in the FOSS community, we encountered people that thought that Ubuntu Touch was dead since Canonical left the project. So yeah, it's really important to be there and spread the word and yeah, keep people informed that we are here and the community is there, mobilized, and that there are progress. And yeah, very helpful for that.
I will actually have kind of a little stat. Uh, so I went to the GitLab organization and I looked at how many issues we have merged since we moved to GitLab last year. All of the merge here is going to be from that year. And in that year, and we didn't even move to GitLab like fully until like half of the year. So some of this is still just half of the year, but we have merged 5,766 pull requests. That is an insane number.
That is awesome.
That that is, and as I said, that is not all even because we did a lot of work on uh, on GitHub at the start of last year. So that is something.
Mhm.
Uh, I wish I could go more in depth of insights, but we don't really have that on GitLab. But that is what I have on stats. So if we count this in as commits, if you think that most of the time you have more commits in one PR. So if you times this by like say an average of 5, so time this by 5 is probably how many commits we have done this year.
Yeah.
And with lines of code, this is gonna be a lot of code. A lot of code. I wish we could have like stats and see how much code we had written for the last year. But sadly, we don't have that. Maybe we can cook something up for the next Q&A if I can find something. But yeah, for what I like most about this year is I also gonna continue with what we did on Focal. But what also really happy with is that we got all the packages, at least all the ones that are needed that are not Halium ones, are in Debian now. And when they are in Debian, it means that they automatically syncs to Ubuntu, which means they are automatically gonna be there on 24.4. So we only need to build, like if we have newer changes, or if we want to change something or backport something, or even downgrade something. That's the only reason when we need to do anything with our packages. Other than that, they are already in the archive. And the same goes for Halium packages. These we need to build ourselves, but it's just a few. So upgrading now to 24.4 is going to be so much more easier. So much more easy. Yeah, so much more easy. Yeah, English stopped me there a bit. It's gonna be a lot easier. Yeah. So that's gonna be fun. And I'm really proud of that. That work has been amazing. And I'm also proud of all of these other changes that has come into it. That have been in some way that they have been a little bit drowned in the news of Focal, but there has been a lot of other changes in there. There is just a lot that has happened last year, and some of it has been hidden in Focal news because Focal was such a big thing. And I'm also glad that the Focal upgrade is done. We can now look forward. We don't need to do that big leap. We don't need to uh, be porting to system D of all of our packages. So that is just great. And I also want to ask the chat again. What did you like most about 2024? What was your biggest happening on Ubuntu Touch? Or even they can be what's your your favorite app that came out in 2024, 2023? Yeah, last year. So let's just hop into questions. So I will read the first one from John Doe. What are the next big changes for Ubuntu Touch, and what are the current problems for the UbiPorts team? I guess I will start shortly on that. I will start with the what's the next big thing. That's 2404. That's going to be the huge thing. And also VLT. I think those are the biggest one and the biggest challenges. I think VLT is going to be a bigger, well, I know VLT is going to be a bigger challenge than upgrading to 24.4 because that thing is a beast. But I think the biggest challenge for the team is our small size. Like we have so much to do for a small team. So I think that's if you in terms of the team, I think that's we need more hands. I think we need more developers. We need to bring this community up if we want to continue staying on par with Android and even exceed them in areas. But also building like desktop mode and all that. We are fighting with giants like with Apple and Google. They have seemingly unlimited resources, while we don't, and that's something that we really want to see. Anyone else want to add to that?
I think it's also in line with the question asked by Kimo. They ask, will there be more interest in applications? There's a significant shortage of applications, especially after moving to Focal. That's true. And yeah, we need people to try to port them or just I think most of the time it would be just rebuild the apps and put them in the open store. But yeah, that's something that is something that keep us down. And so yeah, that's for me an answer to the question from John Doe. We also need to have more apps. And for this, we need more people interested in making applications or porting existing applications. And that also relates to my take on snaps earlier tonight. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think snaps will at least solve the problem of we moving base to a newer base. When we move to a newer base, we can still use the older apps if they are snapped or flat packet.
Yeah, and also we had. I know that some developers were discouraged by the need to rebuild their apps or not being able to use the latest technology because we used outdated libraries. And yeah, so I think keeping up with the major release of Ubuntu will help us on this regard, and we'll be able to have more mainstream development. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this will solve many problems.
And I think also one that really came in as a really pain point after Qt upgraded to Qt 6 is the Qt web engine. I think also that could be a lot easier if when we have like snap slash flatpak kind of support. I think we are moving more on the snap at first, at least, since all that work has been done by our wonderful Alfred. Um, so that's also something that could be great. And I know also Alfred has been experimenting with some other browsers too. So maybe that might come something out of that.
Totally, yeah.
But
Uh,
I
the work that I did with Focal initially as an application development environment was when it first came out with clickable support. I basically just stuffed a WebKit, not Qt WebKit, but WebKit itself offers the ability to build an embedded environment for Qt-based applications. And this is more than enough for me to being able to just start a QML scene back then as a development test bed and just have it run WebKit inside of a window on Ubuntu Touch using the Wayland integration, and it worked. It was interesting to see it work out that well. Uh, but I have some ideas on how to make that better. I just don't see that have the time to do it yet. But I would like to do it again. So making me interested. You're making me interested again.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, actually, we are on live. Maybe someone is interested to help out in that.
Yeah, totally. If anybody is interested in helping out getting other browser support in to Ubuntu Touch via Click, via Snap, via Flatpak, whatever it is, uh, just figure it out and maybe send us a patch where it is necessary. And I don't think we will stand in the way of achieving the goals of bringing those experiences, because this one was done in a click and it worked. So it just install it with a click based environment with Ubuntu Touch with the permission system that it provides. Might need some integration here and there in other areas, but it worked for the bare metal bring up of WebKit, the Apple Safari engine, basically. Bringing that over to Ubuntu Touch would be interesting too. So I would like to see that happen. So let's see what happens.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't that what uh, uh, GTK is based? The GTK browser engine thing.
GDK does have a browser engine integration into it too. Uh, but how do we want to move on with being able to move fast
Yeah.
with a browser that is packaged up as something that we can release quickly into the wild, while still being able to have Qt WebKit uh, being the Qt integration into this WebKit experience, basically being separate from Qt Web Engine, which we test and build morph with. So there must be a distinction. So but who knows? Maybe we can one day just flip over to another browser engine, and that would be amazing to achieve. I mean, could
Yeah,
be done possibly. Who knows?
yeah, that's amazing. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of that, and I might even help out with that when I eventually get time.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I would definitely like to see some movement there myself.
Yeah. Well, speaking about, segueing over to the question I had before, if anyone in the chat had anything for the 2024, 2023 year review, uh, we have one here from Equareo, Focal, Waydroid, and app support. So that those one is really good ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
Waydroid is definitely a huge one that I kind of forgot to mention because that one.
Shout out to the WageWay developers here.
Yeah, shout out to Wader developers and everyone helping to get Wader working on Ubuntu Touch too. Uh,
We have also,
yeah, we also one from my name, best in the year. Ivan have finished the port Mayatol to Focal. I think that's a Xiaomi device, if I'm not mistaken. It's a
Yeah,
Xiaomi Note 9. Now I'm guessing a little bit. Maybe my name can correct that. See what device that is. But that is amazing. Ivan has done great work.
oh yeah.
Uh,
Also fixed, found or was involved in finding out some issue with performance when switching applications between applications on Ubuntu Touch, and I had the same thing with the Xperia export. And he figured. I think he was the one figuring it out. So shout out again to if it was not you, so shout out regardless. But I'm pretty sure it was this person, Ivan, in this case. So yeah, shout out.
Also, shout out to Ivan for helping you out with wealthy work. So that has been amazing.
Yeah,
I will also pick one here that kind of goes in line with the other one. Have you guys figured out how to get Android apps to work with the OS? Yes, we have something called Waydroid. Waydroid is a way to have containerized Android that runs on top of Ubuntu Touch using Wayland, which is why I call Waydroid, and then you can have app support on top of that. So that one is really cool.
Yeah, we can continue with the question from the forum. I think we had Domu BPKM that asks, all the developers for this new year deserves to be thanked once again, because without them, there would be nothing. And I agree. And I particularly thank all those who develop and take care of useful apps on a daily basis. For example, very recently, Daniel Frost has put his energy into the Note text editor, Tidit. And a big thank you to him, because UT needs Office apps that are sorely lacking. And I also agree with this. Yeah, basically, it also come to Kimo's question about having more apps, because it's important to attract people and for everyone to use this amazing OS.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a lot of one thing that we should really do in the Q&A that we did before is to have this app showcase, bring that back. So I really need to thank all the app developers that have put in a lot of work on the apps, because
Pay attention. Your cat might be sitting on the microphone again, like last time.
he really likes the heat of the laptop apparently,
Yeah, totally.
and apparently the microphone is at the same side as the fan, which makes no sense. But yeah, I really have to thank all the app developers and all the developers on Ubuntu Touch in general, because without them or without us, there wouldn't be any Ubuntu Touch. But also without the community as a whole, there wouldn't be any Ubuntu Touch without the whole community. So I have to thank everyone for it. We are really trying to make a difference here, and I think we are already making a difference.
Exactly.
We are trying to move boulders made by big tech. That is really hard, but we are doing a great job at it.
Yeah.
So I will take the next question then from UXS. Is there gonna be CUPS printer support? Since Lumire system setting has support for it, it would just need to add a cup package with system image and some way to print anything to image to it. So it's not as simple as just installing it. Yes, there is code made for it, but it's when we tested it, it's still highly unstable. It was made.
Should I break? Should I break? Should I break a little private secret project that I've been working on in the meantime
Yeah,
over the last few weeks?
go for it.
I have experimented with a snapped up version of Cups that is available in the Snap Store. Shout out to everyone involved in making the snaps possible. Um, I just freestyled this shout out right now because I'm not very aware of whether they would like to be named. But I'm definitely shouting out the project here. So it works when you set the path for it in a little like settings file for system image for system settings. Excuse me, system settings in the repository there. There is some code that needs to be adjusted, and for that code, it needs some like special path to be adjusted so that it checks for existence of another snapped up version of the socket to cups. That's all it needs. It's a one liner. That's all all that is required, and it works. You can actually search for printers in your network and try to do things with it. It doesn't complain that anything is problematic at the moment. But I haven't dug too deeply here. Whether this works professionally in a like professional work setup yet. I just started with playing around with it from the Snap uh, like environment basically, and tried to play around with it, and it worked to a certain degree. So it is something, and who knows what happens with that one.
Yeah, and maybe also integrate that with the system setting as we said. Maybe that we can bring back the code.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, the code is a bit. Well, it is a developer version that was made by Canonical before they dropped the project, so it hasn't been touched since a long time, and it wasn't done when they dropped it either. So it still needs a little bit love to make that fully working.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
I actually want to pick a question that I saw flying by before I move on. This is from Xi Ying Ping Pong. Will GTK app development be possible in the future? Yes, I think in theory it's already kind of possible, but it will be even more possible with Snap / Flatpak / something else support being added.
Other apps which basically use GTK themselves also work. So the Snap version of the Snap Store that Canonical provides through the Snap Store, through the Snap command, you can easily install that, and you can get a Flutter-based version with uses GTK underneath it also. So that is
Yeah.
something. That is something to look forward to.
Speaking of Flutter is pretty great, man. I have been trying it out, and it's pretty cool. I really would like to bring that into Ubuntu Touch as a more active way to develop, because it's really nice.
Yeah, totally.
I also have a question here. Well, it's not really a question; it's more of a statement. But I will include that anyway. It's one from Mark Peterson. It seems like to me that VoLTE is so specialized by device and carriers that focusing should be on making SIP a first-class app that could run in a background alert on an incoming call. I think this is a great point, and yes, VoLTE is really specialized by device, or well, even it's specialized by chipset, and even some devices don't even have an implementation in the modem, so it needs to be all done all software. So there's a lot of uh, s- um, specialized code there. But I think making a SIP first class app would definitely be a good idea. Um,
Not
but I,
only a first class app, our initial SIP integration tests that we started. Shout out to Lionel on this one for like dusting off a few old versions of the code and making sure that they work with Focal to revive some things. Brush them up. Basically, spit and polish is going to happen now. Uh, but I do have my phone here which is the Pixel 3a again, and I do have, when it's configured correctly, my SIP number integrated into the dialer. So the dialer pops up when one tries to initiate a SIP call with me through the smartphone. So it works as one would expect from a phone, and it is a very interesting approach indeed to look forward to communicate with folks.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think one thing that I also want to mention, I'm not sure this might be uh, a solution for everyone, meaning that most people are reliant on having phone calls working. I'm not sure how SIP could route that in with your number, like your primary phone number, if that could be routed to a SIP instead. Um, but it would be nice to at least have. But since VoLTE is based on SIP, maybe we can have a all software-based VoLTE that uses the SIP in the background. So
Yeah,
it
totally.
will be SIP anyway, because VoLTE is SIP. It's just a wrapper around SIP to be able to handle the carrier focus and all that.
Right.
Uh, so yeah,
Yeah. We are coming near to the end,
yeah.
so I would like to take the question from Andrisk. They ask, would you consider making a workshop on topic debugging system level components of Ubuntu Touch? I think it will really be helpful to get started, and I tend to agree. Um, so I don't know what kind of form this workshop could take. I don't know if we can put it into um, uh, the technical deep dive that we can do sometimes on the show, or if it's something that we can try on maybe not this for them, but maybe another one, or a complete different event. I remember an event for developers. I think it was a couple of years back, maybe before even COVID, but I don't remember.
I think that
So yeah, I think this would be great.
Yeah, I think it would be really great, and I think it would be nice to have it like recorded on YouTube and where people can go back and see how to do it and have the resources available all the time. I think having kind of a workshop or even live stream on how to do it would be really nice to get out there. Um, Also, making more. I said this probably every Q&A, but make more documentations about this exact topic. Um, it's also something that probably will really help in this area.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to document this kind of thing because when you're debugging, and so it's hard explain how to debug. So I guess you have to be hands-on and to okay. I encountered an issue in my last porting attempt, and okay, I keep it on the side for this workshop, and then we will tackle it with the community. And maybe we can have also, if it's on a YouTube event, it can be people in the chat trying to help out. So yeah, I think it will be, it can be something
I would like to
really
point
interesting.
I would like to point out a very fitting comment here in live chat right now, if you allow me to do so. And this is this one. Are you working on a way to get more support for wider variety of phones? I want it on my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. So yeah, for sure, if you follow the documentation for on how to port it and join the first and foremost, join the Telegram group, reports underscore porting. Make sure that you ask your questions there, and in case you're feeling like you get stuck, there will be someone to being able to help you out here. Just remember, be responsible with the phone. Don't, if you break it, let's do the best we can to avoid this situation, of course. So nobody's phone wants to be bricked, but rest assured, we will help you out in being able to. If you don't even like it anymore, being able to flip back to Android is very device specific, so keep that in mind. So just heads up for anybody interested in playing around with that.
And
Yeah.
last question from the forum was from Mesaisto. They asked about mobile data. They said mobile data still are not consistent after calls, based on something Alfred and or Marius said in a previous Q&A. So they asked, is there a plan to fix that, or is it still correct?
So this was kind of split into multiple issues because after digging into this, I found that there's more things happening in this layer that cause the same issue. So on Devil, there is a fix for one of these scenarios, but the second and more hard to solve issue is when your device switches cell towers. And this happens when you are making a phone call because you are dropping down to 2G to make that phone call and bumping back up to 4G. So you are switching cell towers, or at least changing frequency, most likely also changing cell tower. So when that happens, you are in a situation where there's a race condition inside of network manager. So there's a race condition there that is really hard to debug because you need to trigger this code again, and it sometimes don't happen. It happens in special cases. In my case, it always happens when it switches from because my carrier is using their own network and rented network. So the 2G network is rented, but the 4G is mostly their own. So it switches between two cell tower providers, and in that switch, it then something is happening that causes it to not get activated again. So it's a bit of a hard thing for me to reproduce this. I need to drive a little bit because I need to find somewhere that I have access to both their owned cell tower provider and the rented cell tower provider, because at my home both 2G and 4G is owned by the same provider, so it doesn't happen at home. So I need to drive somewhere, debug it, drive back, try to code. So it's a bit of a weird one. I wish there was a more like a more a better way to reproduce this every time. So if someone has this where they can reproduce it even better, please send me logs. I need all the logs from Ophono, from Network Manager, and from Rail. But yeah, there is coming up a fix. I am really close to it. But as I said, there is already a fix in Devil. Maybe that fixes it for you, because the one that I have left is more of a special case. I'm not sure how common that is around the world to do it like my cell tower does. So that was a speed run of that. I tried to fit it into, and now we have 1 minute left. So I think that fit perfectly.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions from the chat. Um, we have Luis Menjivar that says, "Hi, Happy New Year. Is there a guide to make Ionic apps work in UT?"
Ionic, that's the framework for using, if I'm not mistaken, mobile framework to make web apps. I don't think, I'm not sure if there is any specific to Ionic, but in theory, you could just put it in a web app, a native web app on Ubuntu Touch. So there's guides on how to do that, but not specifically Ionic. I'm not sure. I'm probably not the. Do you know, Alfred? Anyone else?
Not familiar with it, but for it to be that much of I don't think of it as being that much of an issue to be packaged up as a click, for example, or snap
Yeah.
or Flatpak, whatever, to execute properly on our environment, because Lemuri does its job rendering the windows to a certain degree. Rest assured, there are some issues with anything GTK specific, but Ionic maybe works better in this case if it's using the Wayland protocol in a different way.
It's basically just a web app.
Okay, so it's just a web app framework. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought it
just
was something more along the lines of a different native implementation, so to say. So I don't know. I don't see it as much of an issue to run on our platform.
So it uses, for example, you can use React, Angular, or Vue in it.
Oh, interesting.
So it is kind of cool. But I don't think it would be a problem to just package it up as a web app. But again, Ionic probably has some native integrations to Android and iOS that you won't get on Ubuntu Touch. On Ubuntu Touch, you will get basically exactly the same as you would get on web, but you can make your own custom hooks in the Qt Web Engine, so you can hook into the system that way.
Totally.
But for most basic apps, or for mostly all of the apps, you don't really need to hook into the system in that way. You have all that you need on system level, on a browser level.
All right. And do we have a couple of minutes to take the very last question from Luigi 311?
Yeah. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. So Luigi asks, with new phones being GKI, will porting be easier once UT supports GKI?
That's the goal. We really hope that. I've been eyeing GKI. For those that don't know, GKI is generic kernel interface. Is where you can use the same kernel on all devices, where it ships the modules in a stable ABI, so that you can have a common kernel, common system image, everything common. You just install one image which should support all devices that support GKI. That's the dream.
Right.
Until now, it hasn't been reality because the interface hasn't been that stable. But I think GKI 2, which is the one that came out with Android 10, 11, 13. I
Something
think
along those lines. Yeah.
it's one of the newer one. It came with Android 12 actually. It's the one I skipped. So it's coming with Android 12, and yes, that's what we hope. We need to try it in practice. In theory, that's it will be easier in theory, but again, we need to try it in practice. I think Nikita has been working on this, so he might have a better answer on this than me. Okay.
So I think it was a long one.
It was a long one. It was
a
long.
lot of questions. Thank you for the interaction with the chat. Thank you everyone who attended the live stream.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good. Thank you for
Couldn't
all the
agree more.
questions. And we will see you next time. And don't forget to install Ubuntu Touch.
Yeah. Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye.